Greetings, Provost Glover, leaders, faculty, and the members of the class of 2024.
Graduates, we can only imagine your joy that just as you're about to finally leave UF, you get to listen to one more professor, but two more professors.
You may be thinking, what can two speakers say that one cannot?
At other universities this fall, lone speakers are sharing stories to help graduates find their superpowers. We want to tell you about a superpower that we believe is even stronger than any other.
We've been to the ends of the earth, literally. I've touched the moon. Rob has touched space. And we've been able to achieve these seemingly superhuman feats through deliberation and collaboration. We play to each other's strengths, exploring and innovating collaboratively, rather than trying to individually leap tall buildings in a single bound. So our superpower is sharing our powers.
Graduates, you are each about to embark on your own amazing journeys. Our message to you is to join hands with others, counting on shared persistence over individual heroics. We feel like you'll get more done and experience more joy in your journey.
You'll find your greatest superpower in sharing your powers. Rob and I have dedicated our lives to a science exploration journey. We're a team, but we're very different people. Rob knows I've got all manner of survival gear in my backpack, and I know that if the GPS breaks, Rob can pilot us out with his crazy internal compass.
It's that kind of synergy that has helped us ask one of humanity's biggest questions. Can life, our form of terrestrial life, exist away from the Earth?
We focus on plants because plants are what enable humans to be explorers. From the ancient Polynesians exploring the Pacific to humanity's journey to Mars, plants get us past the limits of a picnic basket. We look at their genes because that's how we discover the tools that they use to adapt to these environments.
But getting off the planet is hard. So we spent a lot of time working at the Earth's polar regions, where the remote and unforgiving conditions there are more like those of other worlds.
The Arctic, it's a beautiful and desolate place, but you don't work there alone. The desolation and the dangers require that we do everything in teams. So when Rob and I hike out onto the Arctic terrain, one of us has to carry a shotgun and keep eyes peeled for polar bears, and the other carries a radio in case we need rescue. Thankfully, we've never seen a bear or gotten lost, but if we did, we'd be stronger together.
Sometimes things do go wrong with our equipment, though, and we need to jury-rig fixes in the field. Once, for example, we had to retrofit small glass filters into our specialized cameras. Out came Annalise's Swiss Army knife, the perfect tool for the fix. It was one of those fist bump moments of success.
So many of you have turned to each other, turned to your friends or study partners for skills or knowledge that you don't have. I'm a connector. I think about tying things together. Rob is a tinkerer. He thinks about tools and trying to guide us. I'm columns, he's rows.
And you need both rows and columns in your spreadsheets to be effective. Unlike those who believe in unilateral superpowers, we've learned that our path to success is about sharing our powers and actually counting on the different ways that we think.
We wanted an even better place to simulate the conditions that astronauts may someday encounter, and we found that place in Antarctica. It's even more remote and even more like another world. We lived with other scientists in the Neumayer 3 station, perched on the Ekstrom's ice shelf, which is more like the Starship Enterprise, actually, than a building.
At Neumayer, you have to go outside through an airlock, just like in space. You wear heavy red coveralls like a spacesuit, which when you come back in, you leave in the airlock when you go inside. And literally, your life depends on others.
Not these penguins, though. For some reason, they did not want to connect, collaborate, or share their powers with us.
We learned a lot by building a greenhouse in Antarctica, but the research there was hard. We needed more days of intense planning, more packing and repacking, more exhausting travel, dozens more of those fixes. We fought in frustration sometimes. We celebrated successes, however, with those fist bumps.
But it's popular to say that you should move fast and break things. And we've done that a time or two. But the truth is, Rob and I often move slow and make things because it's important to think carefully about what we need for extreme destinations.
But even going to both ends of the earth couldn't answer one of those basic questions that we have. How can we know if plants will grow in otherworldly ground? It turns out, in fact, that there's some of that otherworldly stuff right here on Earth. It's the samples collected on the moon and brought back by the astronauts in the Apollo program, including Neil Armstrong on Apollo 11.
NASA guards its lunar samples as national treasure. We submitted our first proposal to use some of this treasure back in 2010. The answer was no. We wrote a second proposal. Again, no. We wrote a third proposal. No, again. So with your families, friends, study partners, you know it's easier to face failure together, which we did again and again.
On our fourth proposal, yeah, we felt sure we had it nailed. And just to be sure, we brought on a third scientist, a geologist, to add to our powers. After 10 years, the answer was finally yes. NASA sent us a few teaspoons of the moon, 12 grams in all. Annalisa put about a gram from each of 3 different Apollo sites into 12 high-tech pots carefully designed for a tiny lunar garden, and that's how she touched the moon.
We put our wee garden in a growth chamber, moistened the lunar dirt, added a few seeds, and waited. It took superhuman power not to check the chamber every second. We'll never forget the moment when, after a few days, we peered through the glass and saw tiny green seedlings. These seedlings These seedlings are the first plants ever grown in extraterrestrial dirt, the very first. It was a historic moment, and it was humbling and inspiring to know that our life can live on another world.
Now that was a superhuman, superpower fist bump moment, but it took sharing our powers. Rather than moving fast and breaking things, we moved slow, made things. It's all about that deliberative sharing, sharing of the work, sharing of the rejection, sharing of the fights and the fist bumps, sharing of the joy of those tiny green seedlings growing out from moon dirt.
I touched the moon, and Rob touched space. After many years of trying, he finally got the all clear to fly to space with our experiment earlier this year. Our goal in this experiment was to capture the gene responses of plants as they travel to and from space. We put plants in specially designed tubes attached to Rob's flight suit that he could then activate to capture those responses in flight. We would activate an identical set of tubes at the same time on the ground as our control. We spent hours training in our laboratory at UF's Fifield Hall with Rob strapped to a mock flight chair, wearing his flight suit, and over again. He was more than a little sheepish about wearing that flight suit around the building.
Yeah, you can imagine. Annalisa helped me adhere to the discipline and be brave, even about looking goofy walking around Fifield Hall in a spacesuit. Yeah. Then on a cool August morning, I joined 5 other crew members atop the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket in the Chihuahuan Desert of West Texas. Imagine sitting there in the capsule, looking out at the Guadalupe Mountains in the distance, waiting to launch. T-minus 6 minutes. You take deep breaths of satisfaction, awe, and especially thankfulness. This moment captures 6 trips to the Arctic, 2 trips to Antarctica, the awe of seeing those green shoots growing in lunar soil. Yeah, I felt like I had some superpowers sitting up there in that rocket. But it only happened because of the sharing of our human powers. Annalise's columns and my rows. Then imagine for a minute the red-orange glow of the exhaust as the rocket fires and you're leaving the launch pad for space. Somebody asked me what moment stood out most. For me, it was touching space. That incredibly deep, suck the brain right out of your head, black void of space above the curve of the Earth below.
And here's the real mind blower. Our first of its kind experiment was successful. Rob doesn't remember doing it, but he activated the experimental tubes in perfect synchrony with the experiments on the ground. And the data we gathered are invaluable. We did it as a team. It could only be done as a team. Graduates, I got to touch the moon.
And I got to touch space.
Those are the things that superheroes do. But our superpower was our shared powers. Our journey needed both of us. Going boldly, being persistent, making things rather than breaking things, and working with others to explore our world and beyond.
Alan Bean, one of the Apollo 12 astronauts who actually collected some of the moon that Annalisa grew her plants in here at UF, said this: "I found that the memories of the people I worked with and the friends that I made are more memorable than walking on the moon."
Think of the power that these words carry. It's not just the achievement, but the joy of sharing the journey, just as you have done with your friends and fellow Gators here at UF.
We'd like to celebrate your accomplishment and your shared journey with a fist bump, just like we do. In honor of your hard work and all the times you counted on others around you to help you reach this day, we invite you to fist bump the graduates around you on the count of 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. There you go.
So whatever great thing you do next, go boldly and explore. And remember that your superpower will be sharing your powers and the journey.
We're in this together, Gators, on Earth and wherever humans go next. And we will always root for you from the stars.
Thank you and congratulations.